Here's why you should put your kid in nerd camp. If you're watching this and you're thinking about doing a summer program or a nerd camp, I would recommend it 100%. Why? Going to nerd camp was one of the best things that happened to me, and it was a way that my life genuinely changed. The program that I went to was Center for Talented Youth, sponsored by Johns Hopkins, a 3-week college course. And you lived there at the college for 3 weeks. You dined in the dining room, you did all these things, but you did it from 7th grade all the way to the junior year of high school. And it was awesome. And there was even this program for the younger students that were 5th, 6th grade. This was even harder to get into, but again, it was so good because these kids are taking some like high-level math classes. They're doing a lot of different things, but it's great for you. It's developmentally amazing for the brain. People don't realize this, but the reason as to why certain people become more successful in life is because they spent the 10,000 hours to become experts at something. They were knowledgeable. They studied different things in school over the summer when everyone else didn't do anything for 3 months. So that extra bit of schooling does give you an edge. It does take you to the next level. And I cannot be more thankful of the opportunity that I had at CTY. And it was amazing. I met people from all over the world, geniuses from all over the world. I even met sons of people who were billionaires. So it made me realize, wait a minute, I'm around the right people. If anything is networking, I'm definitely networking with the right people in life. These people all want to do this thing. Even when you look at just CTY as a whole, there's other programs out there for sure, but CTY as a whole changed my life. And it was so cool when I grew up and I started realizing, wait, people like Lady Gaga went here, people like Marquise Brownlee went here, and it was like, wait, I know him, I watched his YouTube videos. So people became successful in life, we're doing this. So this is a key to success. Do nerd camp. Be intelligent enough to get into the nerd camp, but how do you even get in? So I remember having to take the SAT in 7th grade, and my sister signed me up, and she was like, hey, just do this test, blah, blah, blah. Do the best you can. All right, sure, whatever, I'll do it. Did it, and I did well in the reading section. I did pretty bad in the math section. I've never been the best at math, but I love reading. I love having a comprehension skills, and I love being part of discussions in classes. So maybe that's why my reading score was decent. And it was just good enough to get in. It's not like I was the best test taker either, but I got in, super grateful. We got financial aid for it, so we didn't have to pay too much to attend to this. And I remember my first year there, I took a bioethics course. So imagine you're going into 8th grade, you're taking a bioethics course. Imagine that. And I'm learning about the trolley experiment. I'm learning about all these different things. I'm looking at a college textbook in 8th grade. And I'm thinking, wow, this is so cool. This is like awesome. But then it was also so much fun. I got to interact with people from my age to like 2-3 years older. And we were all friends, laughing, playing Foursquare, cloud watching, playing card games. And it was so fun. There was a sense of, I got to live away from home for 3 weeks. Granted, I only went, 10 minutes down the road because I was privileged enough to be around an area where one of the schools coincidentally was part of the program. But again, it was awesome. Like you could have went to California, Maine, you could have went to Rhode Island, there's different places, but I went to Lafayette College there. And I remember being there, eating college food, thinking I was a college kid. You're this young little kid, but you're going through the same experiences. You're taking a 3-week college level course. And it was awesome. It taught me so much. And it didn't just teach me a lot about whatever course I was taking, but it taught me so many more personal skills, social skills. It allowed me to interact with so many different types of people. International kids from Hong Kong, China, India. I met kids from all over, from the Barbados, from California, all these different places that I would have never been exposed to. And again, that social network that I gained was amazing. And at the time, Facebook groups were huge. I remember after every single CTY program would enter into a Facebook group. And it was awesome to talk and stay up to date with everyone after the experience. And even 4 years later, 6 years later, people still kind of interact with one another. Some of my closest friends and people, if I reached out to them, they'd reach out to me, we'd have an awesome conversation with people at this camp. And it's one of those things where you start to realize, wait, I made friends with people who their mom was the editor-in-chief of a famous magazine. And these people are all successful people because they're putting their kids in these nerd camps. So what's the secret behind nerd camps? People who care about their kid enough, they want them to be constantly learning. And that's important. To be constantly learning is an important skill to have throughout your life. You might think summer's for chilling, relaxing. You're right, it is. But I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not someone who even likes schooling a lot. But to me, it was more of a social experience than it was really a school experience. The school was just there. We had hours of classroom time a day. But I never even cared because I was so excited to go to the dance on Friday. I was so excited to talk to these new people, to meet new people, to interact, to feel like a college kid, eat college food. Granted, everyone always hates on college food and says, oh, college food sucks. But when you're a kid, you're thinking, oh, this is awesome. This is a great experience. And it teaches you independence. You're away from your family for a little bit. It was awesome. And then after 3 weeks is over, the teacher gives your parents the assessment of how he did in the class, et cetera, et cetera. And you kind of feel like, I did kind of learn something over these 3 weeks. I learned about the trolley experiment, where it's either one person dies or 5 people, but hey, the trolley is already on the one person. Do you switch it? Do you not switch it? It's on the 5 person. Do you switch it? And to even have these high level conversations and think like this was awesome for me. And it genuinely changed my life. And just me talking about my own personal experiences, I talked a little bit about my first experience with bioethics, but the next year I took psychology and I took it at Moravian College. And this class I loved so much. She was a Dutch psychologist that came over from Holland to teach. And it was such a good class. I learned so much psychological things that I never knew before. Because again, I'm in ninth grade learning about high level psychology things. I'm learning about all the different things you learn about in AP Psych, basically, and asking questions. And it was where basically this Dutch psychologist had this conversation with me. And she was like, hey, like, do you know you might have ADHD? And I laughed at her and I told her, I mean, yeah, I've always been hyper all my life, but no, I don't never gotten like medicine for it. She's like, well, maybe you need it, but just me just telling you straight up as a psychologist, like, you have a lot of energy and you kind of distract the class a little bit, or this, that, and third. I'm like, okay, she's telling me things I've already heard before. And it's funny because after my dad looked at me, he was like, oh, he distracts the class. And me, obviously being an Egyptian immigrant kid, you know your dad will get real mad at you after. He's acting all nice at first, but he's gonna be real mad later. And it was a funny moment in my life, but I didn't even take medication after that. But I had to learn how to control that hyperness, fixated on things, really learn different ways to become better, to not allow medicine to be the one thing that fixes me. Because then if I would have gotten addicted to it at a younger age, then who knows how much stronger I was allowing myself to become, to be able to control that hyperactive energy and focus it. Because with ADHD, you do get some things like hyperfocus. You do get different things. You have to learn emotional control, emotional regulation. I learned through this class, and it was awesome. And the people I met through those classes and people, it was awesome. And even knowing that, again, my social skills kept improving and improving because I'm talking to people who were able to hang with my conversational skills. They were all very intelligent, but they were also really socially intelligent too. People were there not just because they were smart in the books, but they were also street smart. They had a little bit of knowledge. They had some swagger to them. They'd been through life experiences. So that was really awesome as well. My third year, I took an Introduction to Logic course. Now, this was probably the most math-ish course I ever took there, but it was super difficult for me. It was so hard to me to understand A equals B, B equals C, so A equals C, and logic and proofs. And if you know anything about proofs or any of these things, you know how difficult and painful they can be. But hey, I did that course. It might have not been my best course. I didn't do the best in that course, but I learned something. I tried something completely new, and I went to Haverford College. Eventually is where my brother ended up going. So it was really funny like how close everything was that I was going to. It was all in PA, but it was awesome. I loved the experience. And all these years I was doing this experience, I was thinking, you know what, this is really dope. Like, I'm learning a lot. And then the next year, my brother actually did it with me. And we went back to Lafayette College and we did a race and politics course. And in this class, I learned so much that I never knew before. It was woke culture before woke culture was a thing, where you're learning things like why whiteness is seen as angelic and clean, but blackness is seen as dark and dirty. The word choices, why we feel this way. And the professor was brilliant. Like, he was explaining to us in such an amazing way. And it was one of those moments where you really are learning stuff about history and stuff from a textbook that wasn't some McGraw-Hill lame history course that just teaches you white American history from the perspective of their lives. But now you're actually learning the real history. You're learning how it really is. And it made me so much more wiser and more intelligent about social justice issues. And it made me actually informed to be able to speak about it in a pretty educated manner. And this was only by the time I was a junior in high school. So before even going to college, I had taken almost a semester's worth of a class by the time I was that age. And even before then, there was a program I did called Summer Bridge. And it was in Bethlehem. It was through all schools in the area. Got like a letter. You did it if you wanted. And hey, I thought it would, make me do something. I don't want to stay at home and do nothing and just play on my computer. You want to be active. I wanted to do things, and I did it. And again, it may have not been as prestigious as CTY, but I learned a lot there. I got to be interacting with people. I remember playing dodgeball games at the end of every session, or it was just awesome. And all that experience allowed me definitely to become a little more intelligent, a little more vocal, a little more social, and it allowed me to make a little more mistakes too, because again, you have to learn how to handle different things in life. And I would recommend it to anyone that if you're a parent watching this, find different programs for your kids to do over the summer that still make them think and invigorate that creativity, because again, it really matters. And there's a book I was reading and it was explaining about how the hours you spend doing anything makes you better and better. And it was a book called Outliers, and it explained why there's a New York school and they do summer classes as well throughout the year. There's class all year round, but these kids constantly do better on exams. They constantly do better in tests. They have higher reading levels. They have higher comprehension skills. They go to better universities. So there's a reason. You spend the time needed to do that thing when you're younger, when you have all this energy and you want to spend it all. Make sure it's focused on something important. And again, Center for Talented Youth 100% changed my life. And I do appreciate all the privilege and opportunity that I had to be at these different colleges basically and learn something at a high level. And it's that hands-on learning experience. You're really doing it. And for me, it was one of those amazing experiences for me. And there was things in this camp that were like, you got to play sports still. There were still ways that I could be physical and active and play soccer. There were things like talent shows where kids got to show off how talented they were. I remember watching kids do singing, dancing, violin stuff, piano stuff. And I'm like, yo, these kids are so talented. What? Like, I remember actually I ended up working at one of these camps and I had a kid that was able to solve a Rubik's Cube in seconds. You know, I'm like, what? Like, this is awesome. This is so sick to witness and see. But at these places, you're meeting other like-minded individuals, other intelligent students, other kids. And to be part of this experience was really one of the most breathtaking experiences for me my whole life. It was one of those moments where you look back on it, you're like, I'm so glad I did that. So again, if you guys are watching this again, shout out to Johns Hopkins, shout out to Center for Talented Youth. You guys are awesome over there. The program you guys have created there has been amazing and it really did change my life. And if you're a parent or you're a kid who's thinking about doing a nerd camp or thinking about it, 100%, just do it. Jump 2 feet first. Just 100% do it. I recommend it. If you guys have any comments or concerns or questions or want to ask me any more questions about this topic, please feel free to ask me in the comments down below. I'd be more than happy to answer and talk about it. So thank you for tuning in to another episode. I really do appreciate it. I'll see you next time. See you later.